Hallo mense, terwyl ek in Suid-Afrika was, het hierdie Pro-Patria fees plaasgevind by die Voortrekker monument. Ek dink dit was op 1 Mei. En ek was daar, en ek het 'n klomp van julle ontmoet, en ons het lekker gepraat, en dankie aan julle, ons waardeer julle. Dankie vir julle tyd om hier te wees, ons waardeer jou tyd. En tydens daai fees het ons kapelaan, Olivier, hy was genooi om toespraak te maak oor die spoorwegpolisie, en so het dit gedoen. Ek het dit opgeneem, en hier is ons nou, en kom ons hoor wat hy te sê. Dit is altyd interessant om nuwe dinge te leer.
My father was also a railway policeman, and I think the biggest mistake that was ever made is to close down the South African Railway Police. It should never have been done. But we've got here Colonel Olivier today, who's going to entertain us in terms of the role of the South African Railway Police, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the presentation. Thank you, Andre, for being here.
Thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure. I'd like to bring just honor to everybody that served, and people that are not with us anymore, and the families that supported them as well. Kan jy my nou hoor? Is dit beter? Daar sy. Ek het die aanbieding in Engels gedoen, want ek verstaan daar is internasionale mense ook, so as julle my sal vergewe daarvoor. What is important is that the South African Railway Police has got a history as long as the country as well. In the previous colonies and republics, it started there way back in 1867 already, 1875, and you can see on the big screen. But the South African Railway Police became autonomous police force on the 1st of July 1934. And in 1986 it was 50 years old, and then it was amalgamated into the South African Police. So the South African Railway Police was amalgamated in 1986 and does not exist anymore, although many of the members are still now serving in the South African Police, and some of them have achieved the rank of Lieutenant General, Major General, Brigadiers, and so on. So we're all nearing the age of 60 and plus, so we plan to retire soon as well. Very important, and you'll see at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that the South African Railway Police had jurisdiction off of railway property as well. So anywhere where a crime was committed, and it extended off of railway property, including on the roads, which was part of transport. And that is where we started to get involved on the border, to do the escort of all of the vehicles carrying water, ammunition, and all of that type of stuff, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. So the South African Railway Police was a complete police force, just like the South African Police or any other police force in the world. What we had our own training college, we had our coin training farm down in Addo in Port Elizabeth, where we did our coin training. Initially we did it with the South African Police at Kop. We had the uniform branch, we had dog units, we had water wing and divers, we had a security branch, detectives. The motor transport section were the railway policemen that held roadblocks to see that people were travelling with the necessary permits and so on. We have bomb disposal experts and so on as well. We have a display down at the back here under the roof, and just now 4 of us stood there. We did explosive course way back 41 years ago, and we stood there taking a photograph, so some of the guys are still going well. Fingerprint and photographers, we had sky marshals. Now that's important, those are armed policemen that we put on board aircraft when there was information that they were going to hijack an aircraft. I will show you some statistics about that. I was personally involved with 1 or 2 of those incidents. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. We had our own chaplains, we had our own band. And then the important thing I think today to note, that remember around about 79, 80, the threat moved to the cities, and we started to have urban challenges like the banks that we had, where people held people hostage and so on. And most of the special forces in the world didn't really have a capability other than coin capability, fighting in the bush. So what happened is with other forces as well, the South African Railway Police, and I was fortunate to make the selection. We were sent to Israel, to the Yamam, where we did training there, and also to the GSG 9 in Germany. Some of the high-profile cases that the Railway Police dealt with was, amongst others, in 1964, the Johannesburg bomb, where people were killed, and John Harris, who planted the bomb after the investigation, was sentenced to death. I don't know who will remember the 707 that crashed in Windhoek. Remember, Windhoek was managed by South Africa at that point in time, and the South African Railway Police, amongst others, did this investigation as well. You'll also recall the Air Rhodesia aircraft that were shot down with the SAM-7s. If you go look up on the top, you'll still see that monument there and some of the people that died on those two aircraft. Then in 1972, we had the Boeing 727 that was hijacked by Fred Camille to Malawi. Fred Camille had a story against the Oppenheimer family, and the way they handled this situation is they shot the aircraft full of holes. They did not have any special forces or something, but the railway police were on the ground in Malawi, in Blantyre, during this situation. Then you will recall the Seychelles hijack that landed at Durban. A lot of our own guys were involved. The 707 landed at Durban Airport. This is some of the firearms that were taken off of that aircraft, and I actually gave testimony in the Supreme Court in Pietermaritzburg on this case. This was the Royal Swazi that was hijacked to Jan Smuts Airport. You will see I'm there in SAP uniform. We amalgamated in '86, and I was the hostage negotiator doing this hijack. The aircraft was hijacked from Maputo with an AK-47 that was smuggled in dog food. And the interesting thing here, just for background, this aircraft was also in the Seychelles during that coup. And they actually shot this aircraft with the RPG-7. It had a massive hole through the fuselage, and one of the air hostesses on this aircraft in the Seychelles was also an air hostess on this aircraft when it was hijacked to Jan Smuts Airport. It was a Sunday evening. Now, during the negotiations, this guy actually took his AK-47, shot holes inside the aircraft, through the aircraft fuselage, and he took off again. He wanted to fly to Australia, but that amount of jet fuel would not get him there. So eventually we had to storm the aircraft. He was shot in the head with a 9mm Uzi, and the bullet did not penetrate his brain. It actually ran under the skin around his head, but it did give him a headache and it did knock him out. Another one you will remember is the Helderberg. Although that was after the amalgamation, the railway police that went over to the SAP at that point in time was very involved with this investigation as well. As a matter of fact, we had seconded railway policemen to the South African Airways before it became a permanent post, because every new route that South African Airways went to, we had people going to have a look at the safety of the hotels, the routes and so on, because the aircraft were flying into areas that were sometimes not very friendly. Then our rank insignia was exactly the same as the military. It was the same as the SAP. Our officers, when we became commissioned officers, the commission was signed by the state president. We were commissioned of, as I said, it was an autonomous police force that had all the powers and authority of any police force. That was the ranking signature. Our commissioner was up to the rank of a lieutenant general. Now with the brigadier general that's in the army, it will have another castle there. Then, this is very important what I'm going to say now. You're going to see how the South African police were actually trained by the Defence Force. Way back in 1975, a contingent went down to Oudtshoorn, and they were trained there in Oudtshoorn, and then they were later on deployed in 1976 in Southwest Africa in the Bamboland. So we had our training down in Oudtshoorn at the battle school, and as a point of interest, all of our drill instructors were trained in Oudtshoorn. by the military, all of them. And then later on, with the amalgamation, that knowledge also then went over to the South African police. You will see a little bit later on a couple of photos. Our training farm down in Addo. We did training with 17 Squadron, 19 Squadron. We did our coin training down there. And the guys were then deployed from there in the border area in Oshovello and Kaminyap, and they did all of the escorts in the operational area. During that period, we lost 4 of our members. Sergeant Meiberg, Constable Kapp from Durban, and Constable Meiberg. There were 2 Meibergs, and then a Kleinhans. That was on the 12th of October 1982, and then on the 11th of March 1981, one of our members was shot and killed in Oshovello. Just on a point of interest, those are the guys up there that died on the border, and you will see the biffle down there. We were deployed with biffles on the border that was supplied by the Defence Force. The photo to the right, you'll see a brigadier, that's Brigadier Allang. Left bottom, not very clear, but that was Minister Hendrik Skuman that became the honorary colonel of the Railway Police Special Task Force. To the right, you will see abseiling. We also did that out of the Aloe and out of the Puma. That is Sergeant R.A.Z. Scholes with his dog down a 4-story building. There you will see us on an Oryx down in Port Elizabeth doing the coin training. That's our divers that were doing that. We also had a maritime division. And one of the things that we were responsible for, any boat hijacks that took place, any aircraft hijacks that took place, as well as our duties on the border. The big photograph in the middle is actually during the coin training that we did down at Avambaland, in preparation for Avambaland. Down below, that was a group photo that was taken during that training. This is one of the things that I'm personally proud of. I'm the patron of the South African Railway Police Task Force Association. We meet once a year and we get together, and we have contact also with our other colleagues in the different units in the Defence Force and that as well. There we're making Hendrik Skuman an honorary colonel. There I'm at 36,000 feet as a Sky Marshal with Pik Botha over Rabat in Morocco. That parade took place in 1986, and I know there's people here today from Thailand. My friend Koos Kotse over there from Legacy Conversations. He was on that parade, I think, as a sergeant or something way back then. Koos Kotse is also an advocate, but he does videos of any soldier in whatever your unit was, or any policeman who wants to give his story. He records you and he puts you on YouTube. Go and look at Legacy Conversations and have a look. Frans Fourie, S.V. Fourie, there he's sitting there. Ricky sitting there with his wife. It doesn't look so tough there now, but there they are here today. So make yourself known. There's Steiner Rousseau, he's been on Legacy Conversations. So it's your opportunity. Jan Malan spoke just now, and he said, unfortunately, there's no rattle here today. Ladies and gentlemen, the rattle is here behind the wall. It's a rattle slip with a service level extension program that my company is busy doing, and it will extend the life of that rattle for another 30 years. Go and have a look at it, you're very welcome. You'll see one of our lady police officers with the Uzi. We used the Uzi. There you can see the uniform that we used. That was our flag, and the medal you see there is the Railway Police Medal for Terrorism that was issued, the guys that were on the border and also that were in other clashes and so on. So if you want to get involved with Legacy Conversations, if you want to talk to us, we're at the back where the rattle is standing and 2 of the other vehicles that we are building. And also we have the Railway Police Special Task Force website. You can go and have a look and find out more, and we are there to take your questions at any time.
Baie dankie Andre, dit was nou baie interessante praatjie. Ek het nou ook goed gehoor wat ek nie eens voor die broodie emosie, maar lekker hard, baie dankie. Die rol van die Suid-Afrikaanse spoorwegpolisie, baie min wat ons weet van dit, en ek dink vandag het ons nou regtig waar iets gehoor dat hulle ook 'n baie groot rol gespeel het. En dit is belangrik dat ons erkenning gee aan al die rolspelers wat deel was van hierdie konflik en nie altyd die wat ons altyd van weet. En Andre, baie dankie. Bly dat jy gekom het vandag en so dankie ook vir die ratel wat ons ook vandag kan sien wat julle mee besig is en al die wonderlike werk wat julle gedoen het. Ek was self gefascineerd met die hijackings. Ek het nie geweet julle was betrokke by so baie van hierdie goed gewees nie. So sterkte vorentoe en ons hoop dat die legacy van die spoorwegpolisie sal nog aanleef en dat jy mooi na die manne sal kyk en stuur groete. As 'n blyk van waardering wil ek net graag namens die museum vir jou 'n skenk oorhandig.
Baie dankie. Dankie dat julle almal gekom het.
Baie dankie.
Ja, hulle ry.